Hi, my name is Charmaine Lim, and I'm representing the NTU Institute of Advanced Studies. I have with me here today Professor Aaron Ciechanover, who has been at the IAS 20th Anniversary Symposium. He recently gave a talk on the revolution of personalized medicine. He has also been recognized and appointed as an IAS Lee Kong-chen Distinguished Professor. And I have with me two PhD students from the Lee Kong-chen School of Medicine, Ba-Yi Ro and Damien Chua. They will be asking questions with me today. We will just be having a conversation with the professor about the impact of his research and discoveries, the future he has for personalized medicine, and your journey as a scientist. So perhaps we can start off a little bit with how you developed this love for science, because I understand that your parents are not scientists.
Yeah, my parents are not scientists. My mother was an English teacher. My father was a lawyer. But I grew up in a very young country, not habited crowdly. And things kind of mesmerized me, why the skies are blue, why the blood is red, why the leaves of the trees are green. So out of these questions, I came to conclusion that I'm interested in science, but actually I thought to take a midway, not really to go to science, but to go to medicine. So I went to medical school, was trained as a physician, was a combat physician in the Israeli military, then trained partially in surgery, but then I decided that enough for medicine and I really want to go to science. And I did go to do my PhD in biochemistry, where we discovered an important system, which is the ubiquitin system for protein degradation, and the rest is history.
Well, I know they definitely understand what ubiquitin is, but for people who might not know what it is, how would you explain this process?
We are made of proteins. Actually, we are made of 20,000 different proteins. For example, the red color of the blood is coming from a protein called hemoglobin, which carries oxygen that we are taking to our lungs, distributed to the tissues, which enable energy production by the tissues, and from there it takes carbon dioxide, which is a waste gas, which we expire. The antibodies that we are generating against viruses, COVID-19, are proteins. The enzymes that digest our good Singaporean food, the spicy crabs, are enzymes. The senses, all the receptors that we see, we hear, we taste, we smell, are all proteins. So there are more than 20,000 different proteins that play a beautiful symphony called the Symphony of Life. So that's what makes us living, sophisticated organisms. But besides the complicated function and structure, they're very sensitive. Because of the structure, they're sensitive to irradiation, they're sensitive to mutation, they're sensitive to heat. Take a piece of meat, which is made of proteins, right? Take cheese, which is made of protein, put it on the table for a few hours or a day or two, and it will be rotten. You'll have to throw it away. Because temperature, proteins should be either frozen or in the refrigerator. So how is it that in the body the proteins can survive at 37 centigrade, right, our temperature, for decades, not for a few hours? They don't survive, they die, they are damaged. But we have a mechanism that degrade them, destroy them, and replace them all the time. As we speak now, while you are speaking to me, your proteins, my proteins, the proteins of the nice students, are being destroyed because of the heat, because of irradiation, because of chemicals, air pollution, and replaced by new ones all the time. We are very dynamic. So we discovered the destruction mechanism, which is essential, because if those damaged proteins will not be destroyed, we'll get diseases like cancer, like brain diseases, Alzheimer, and so on. So hence the importance of our discovery. It's called the ubiquitin system because one of the components is a protein that is called ubiquitin, so therefore the name. But in essence, it's a quality control system that removes damaged faulty proteins, replacing them all the time with new ones.
And I'm curious to know a little bit about how your parents nurtured this love of science in you, because it's a very different field from what they're in.
Yeah, they did not, but they nurtured the sense of curiosity. My mother, English is not my mother language. It's Hebrew. We speak Hebrew like you speak. I don't know what you speak. Something in between Mandarin and English. My mother taught me English at the age of 3. I was already almost commanding the English language when I was starting school. It's a second language. And my father was a lawyer, but the house, this was the beginning of the country. We are very poor. So there was no food, not that we are really suffering from starvation, but food was cautioned, limited, kind of very humble. But one thing we did not miss at home, books. So the walls were, it was covered wall to wall with books. My father taught me also to read and write in Hebrew. And I went to the library, I was sent to the library, they registered me, and I was reading like voraciously all kinds of books. Actually, they allowed me to take only one book a day, but I wanted to read more. So they registered my cousin, so he took books for me. So that's how we circumvented the limitation of taking one book a day. So it was curiosity, and since my curiosity was driven to nature, so they kind of fostered and nurtured curiosity. I was interested in nature. We combined, and then I thought medicine will be a good solution because, in medicine we have very sophisticated organism called the human being that is functioning, but from time to time something goes awry. So you have to repair it if you can. So I thought that it's kind of a combination between science, humanities, complexity, nature. So I decided to be a physician.
Okay, so what kind of books were you reading as a kid?
Everything. At that time it was like Jules Verne, Around the World in 80 Days, all kind of just nice books for kids, but I was very interested in encyclopedias. I knew there is one encyclopedia in Hebrew that I knew by heart about the seven wonders of the world, the pyramids, the hanged gardens of Babylon, data, the circumference of the earth, the poles, different countries, and so on and so forth. And I'm still, reading is my hobby. I'm reading a lot, but now mostly biographies. So I'm very much interested in people who left an impact behind them. Let it be positive impact, of course, like Churchill, like Einstein, like Steve Jobs, and let it be negative impact, like Mao Zedong and Hitler and others. So I'm very much interested in history.
And you mentioned that English is your second language, the first being Hebrew, but I understand that your parents are Polish immigrants.
Yeah, but they spoke, my mother was an English teacher. She somehow caught the language and she was fluent in English, and my father spoke 7 languages. He learned it, and so he spoke in Hebrew. In Israel, when they immigrated from Poland, he caught up on Hebrew and Arabic, but he came already with 5 languages at hand. So it was a kind of a polyglottal home. Everything was kind of mixed.
Did they keep you in touch with your Polish roots?
Nothing. I don't speak one word of Polish.
How do you feel about that? Do you wish at any point that they had introduced the foods, the customs, anything like that to your childhood?
No, they came to a new country. They were Jews. They were actually felt that the Holocaust is somehow in the air, and they actually escaped. So they didn't escape really from day to day, but they sensed the hatred, the anti-Semitism, and they went to build their own country. So they left Poland behind. They only spoke Polish among themselves, and they didn't want me to understand what's going on. But otherwise, Poland was completely pushed aside.
Okay. Have you visited Poland since?
Many times. It was a little bit sensitive at the beginning because it was a very anti-Semitic country. Actually, 3.5 million, the entire Jewish community of Poland was exterminated during the Holocaust. So it was a little bit difficult knowing the history, of course. I didn't suffer myself, and my parents never talked about it. They didn't suffer themselves because they came before the Holocaust to Palestine, to Israel. But in science we are, I got several accolades in Poland, honorary doctorates and so on because of the Nobel. Somehow the Polish identify me with the Polish history, which I don't belong to. But I told them that, during the ceremony of inducting me as an honorary doctor, I told them that the soil of Poland is soaked with Jewish blood, 3.5 million. And this is part of history, and history should remain in the book, should not be rewritten. We shall remember it, but in science, there are people. And I think that a very basic ethical principle in science is that, and in medicine, mostly the people are people. They shouldn't be discriminated by religion, by gender, by skin color, by anything. And if they suffer as a physician, you make an oath that you're going to treat them equally. And I believe in it deeply. I mean, for me, it's in my DNA that people are people. You see, I don't know you all. You're in Singapore, different culture, different language, different anything, but we have a lot in common. And I think that one thing that science has in common and medicine is that we want to better human life. We want to develop drugs, and the drugs are not marked developed by Aaron Ciechanover or developed or destined only for Jews or for whatever. They are drugs. For me, it's a principle that people are people, and I told them history is history. We have to learn from it, but we are all looking for the future, and for the future we have common grounds and common ideas, and we should work together and collaborate in order to better human lives.
And you said you made the shift from being a physician to more of the research side of things, and I understand you did that in your 30s. But did you ever imagine that this love of science and this curiosity that you had would eventually lead you to a Nobel Prize?
No. You know, to think about Nobel Prize, you must be nuts. You should rather go to the psychiatrist rather than thinking of a Nobel Prize. The chances are, you know, if you look statistics, you know, it's 1 to 20 million, I don't know what it is. No, we didn't think about it, but you know, we didn't know even when we started, because to get a Nobel Prize, you have to do something that is completely novel. Nobody before touched it. Nobody knew about it. So you start with small. You don't discover a splashy discovery on day one. It takes years to people, and it's not you that determine whether it's important. It's the crowd that is assembled around you, the developed drugs, the groups, the thousands of people that adopted your ideas and continue to work on it, and so on and so forth. So it took decades in order to realize that what we are doing is important. So at the beginning, you know, the first 10 to 20 years, we had no clue that it's even important what we are doing, but we were curious. We thought, who cares? You know, you're not working, you're not developing your life around prizes. You're developing them about satisfaction, about curiosity, about happiness in what you are doing and thinking about what you are doing. And prizes are, you know, coming at the end if they come, and if they don't come, fine as well. We are not living for prizes, and it's nice to get. We did not appeal the decision. I didn't give the prize back, so we are not sorry for that, and we are not regretting it. But it's nice to get it because it gives you kind of echoing your work and bring it to the attention of the people, maybe serving as a role model to mimic, to go, to follow, to inspire young people, to connect, and so on and so forth. But for decades we had no clue about it, and I didn't think about it. At the end, we knew that it's important because you typically don't get the Nobel without getting what we called precursor prizes, like the Lasker. There are many others that kind of cannot say predicted, but already say that this is important. In the last 5-10 years, we knew that we are playing on the podium of the big guys, but I couldn't care less at the beginning, really, couldn't care less.
What were the most significant challenges that you have faced in your professional journey?
Well, without challenge, you can never succeed. You know, if you're an A student all the way through, it means that you didn't encounter any difficulties, right? So maybe it was too easy. So there are always failures along the way. First of all, when you're starting a new idea, you don't know even if it exists. You know, when I went to do my PhD, I was interviewed by several potential mentors. And many of them told me, oh, you will work on this and that and that and that, and I have this protein, and we have to purify it and characterize it. And I thought, wow, this is boring. They know everything already. And then I found a young guy with whom later on, after 30 years, I shared the Nobel Prize, who told me, you know, you need to be adventurous in order to work with me, because I'm going to work on an idea that I don't know even if it exists. I think of a system that degrades protein, doesn't matter. But we have to find it. It's a theory. It's an hypothesis. So already at the beginning, you take a risk, right? You don't know on what you are going to work even. And then gradually you, kind like an onion, you peel a layer and a layer and a layer and a layer. But then on the way, there are many difficulties. You make assumptions and the experiment doesn't work. So when an experiment doesn't work, it can be, the worst is that the idea is wrong. Nothing, it will never work. But there is a possibility that it will work, but you have two left hands. You know, typically people have left and right hands, but some people have two left hands, you know, like on this side of the body. Or the reagent that you are using. You know, in experimental biology, in chemistry, in physics, we are doing experiment. To do experiment, you need a tool that will measure what you are asking, right? So maybe the tools that maybe the animal strain that you chose is not right. Maybe the solution that, whatever, the plasmid, whatever it is wrong. So you have to change reagents. So it can be anything that led to a failure. So you have to go back to the board, analyze it, and try again. I mean, I think that people that never fail never succeed. I think that failure is the solution and the key to success. Because if you never fail, how can you draw a lesson? How can you think creatively? Everything is smooth, too easy. Go nowhere.
Do you have an example of what is like a big failure that you had that kind of...
Well, big means, what is a big? Big means that you put a lot of effort into it. You invested, now I'm running a big lab with 15 people, that you invested a lot of time and money, and you wasted the time of a student. You know, grad students are coming to the lab, you feel responsible for them, right? You two are graduate students. You too?
No.
You're not a graduate student. So, you know, in graduate studies, if you have a PhD, you don't publish anything, it means something did go wrong, right? You waste the time of a graduate student. I'm responsible for graduate students because once they graduate, they need to go to a postdoc. They need to go to work in the industry. They want to develop their career. So you feel responsible. So that's, you know, big for me. And I try to make sure that every graduate student will be successful, will publish, and so on. And you have to sense when failure is coming, so you said, okay, why to knock the head against the wall? Let's change subject, let's give them something easy, let's make something that they will feel good about, and then they will, you know, they also lose their spirit, they get moody, they, you know, because they are young people, they are developing their careers, you have to be very considerate of their time and their career and so on. So from time to time you say, okay, let's make a discount, let's give them something easy, they will feel good about it, and then go back to the difficult question. So you have to manipulate. So the road is scattered with failures and for the good. You don't want to fail during your entire life. You want to really be successful, but without failures, you will not be successful.
Thanks for sharing that. From the student's perspective, we often also face this significant challenge of striking a good balance between curiosity-driven research and also having measurable outcomes. So while you have shared from yourself as a mentor perspective, from the student's perspective, how do you suggest and recommend for us to strike?
Yeah, measurable outcome, you know, it can mean a product, you know, that you are doing something translational, that you have a drug at the end, or a new microscope, or a new car, a battery that will last not for 200 kilometers, but for 800 kilometers in the electric car. And measurable can be expansion of knowledge that doesn't have to be applied immediately. For me, it's always expansion of knowledge. I don't care about products. I'm not working, you know, now I develop a drug in my lab and we are working on cancer. But we got to work on cancer not because I wanted to cure the disease, but because we were asking basic questions. And the basic question led us to work on cancer. I think that if you will ask yourself as a young student, I want to cure cancer, you are on the way to a failure. Because you have to understand the disease. There is no way to understand cancer if you don't understand the disease, if you don't understand the normal process, normal cell division, right? What is cancer? It's rapid cell division that generate tumors, right? But cells are divided normally in your body. So if we shall not understand the normal process, how can we understand abnormal processes? So for me, it's basic knowledge. You know, people are going to walk on the moon, right? They walked on the moon. They are going now to Mars. They are doing, why? Because they are curious to understand the universe. It will not yield drugs, and it will not generate better electric cars, and it will not generate better cell phones. But nevertheless, it will satisfy not only curiosity, but understanding of the universe in which we are living. For me, curiosity and expansion of knowledge is the principle. And out of it, good things will come anyway. So I think that, you know, if you come to a lab and you want to develop a new, you know, maybe if you're an engineer, so engineers are the practical people that take the basic science and translate it into products. They build roads, they design batteries, and so on and so forth. But as a physicist or a chemist or a biologist, I'm interested in satisfaction of my curiosity. And you see, we are interested in protein degradation, how proteins are degraded. We never dreamt of cancer. And now the whole system is in the heart of cancer. The whole world is working on our system trying to find cures not only to cancer, but also to brain diseases, inflammation, heart diseases, and so on. But this could not have been done without understanding the basics. So it's always basic science that is later translated.
Talking about curiosity, what drives your continued curiosity? And are there any scientific frontiers today that excites you as much as ubiquitin did?
I don't know. I'm curious. I don't know what drives it. What good food, good wine. Of course, we have stable family, friends. You know, we have life beyond it. As I said, I'm a voracious reader. I like music. I like to travel, see the world. So there are other things in life. It's curiosity. Understand people. I know the history of Singapore maybe a little bit better than you do. I don't know, but I think that curiosity and passion and perseverance are the key to success in anything you're doing. Let it be medicine, let it be ballet dancing, let it be playing music, let it be anything. If you're not passionate about what you are doing, you are coming to work at 8 and during the whole day you are looking at the watch. When the day is ending, forget about interesting life.
Well, we're on the topic of curiosity and also advancement of knowledge. We have also seen significant advancement in technology over the past few years. So for instance, like AI. In your lecture yesterday, you also mentioned about the humanistic endeavor and the humanistic anchoring of human advancement. So in this case, how do you also advise us on how to comprehend these complex notions of both science, passion, and at the same time, the ethics of it?
First thing is, it depends on you, what you like. I mean, you have gut feeling. People have gut feeling. They are good at dancing, so they will not go to be astronauts. And if they are good in, I don't know, in mathematics, they will not go to be painters. I don't know. You have to feel it what you are good. Most people don't feel it what they are good, and they spend boring life. I don't know. So that's first. But second, if you followed my talk yesterday, it was not, I didn't have time to, to spell it out explicitly. But think about, I showed the photo of Watson and Crick, the two people that discovered the double helix of the DNA. They didn't dream of personalized medicine. They didn't dream of sequencing, of mutations, of genetics. They just discovered the double helix, right? So that's the beauty of science, that it's kind of distilled from generation to generation. And each generation improves it. And then, initially, again, it started as curiosity of the genetic material. What is DNA and how it's built, how the double helix is built and how it's replicated. Then people came and discovered the RNA and then the proteins and so on and so forth, the whole central dogma of biology. And now people are applying it to drug development, to structure of proteins, how proteins are structured. I mentioned yesterday AlphaFold. Now AlphaFold will be used in order to decipher like that structure of proteins, docking chemicals into it, developing drugs. But the beginning was, almost 100 years ago, 75 years ago, the early 50s, and people didn't dream where it's going to lead. So I think that that's the beauty. We are in a distillation process of knowledge. We take what's important, the rest we are throwing away or not using, and we take it and then further improving it. And at the end, so you have to put yourself on the map. Where do you want to be? Do you want to work in Novartis, developing drug? Perfect. Go to work in Novartis. There is no advantage or no disadvantage being a professor in the university or working. You should work wherever you feel that you can really express yourself and you feel happy at the most. I mean, it can be anywhere. I don't think that university is, the ultimate for graduate students or for anything. I dreamt to be a doctor. I spent many years in the operating theater. I enjoyed it immensely, but then I thought, no, cannot do it for the next 40 years. I want to do something else. So I changed. And if you don't feel like you're satisfied, change. I mean, I don't think that life has a purpose. Most of people, I think the vast majority, are under huge pressure. They are under pressure of their peers, oh, he is successful and he's this and he's that, and he got A and I'm only B minus or A plus or A minus, and family, and you have to develop a career and that. I never cared about anything. I couldn't care less. I never listened to any noise outside me. I listened only to my own gut feeling and my own gut noise, gut voice. I did what I felt I should do. I abandoned surgery, I abandoned medicine. The only person that I consulted was my wife, because we had a family. And I said, listen, next month we are not going to have a salary. On the contrary, we're going to take all our savings and waste it on tuition fee. That's it. That's what I want to do. Then I got a fellowship after a while. But initially, we took the savings and we paid tuition fee to the university. And I was already a surgeon. So you have to do what you feel is good for you, because I didn't feel good. I felt that medicine will not carry me happily for a long time. You really have to map yourself, to put yourself on a scale and say, yeah, I'm more into technologies, into biotech, high-tech, chemistry, whatever. I want to work in a company. Companies have a disadvantage that they're money-making organizations, right? So if something doesn't go well, if you're in research in a company, flush the subject and we'll move you to another one. In science, if you are good and funded, you can do whatever you want. I don't ask anybody what to do, anybody, nobody. I ask only myself.
I'm curious to know what your wife's response was when you told her you wanted to go back to school to pursue this, to take your savings and put it towards tuition.
Well, I hope now, in retrospect, that, well, it's a wisdom in retrospect. After I got the Nobel, of course, she said I'm right. I was right. No, I think that she is also a career woman. She's a physician, a senior physician. She was a department chairman. She retired meanwhile, a very successful woman. And we coordinated work. I stayed in Israel for longer than I needed before going to postdoc at MIT in order for her to finish her residency. Then when we went to Boston, we had to make sure that she has her own job, and she went to Harvard School of Public Health to do her master in public health and so on. So we always coordinated what we are doing in order that she will not feel like abandoned. But I must admit that I was more kind of the driver. At the end, she didn't lose, I feel. I was so busy developing a career and networking and flying all over in conferences, and that really consumes you in many ways. But we always made sure that she has her place. We have a son. We grew our son, and so on. So we made sure that the family is very stable. But it's a decision. I didn't feel good, and so why should I torture myself going to see patients that I hate?
So I'm curious to know, because previously you mentioned that you're still a voracious reader, you still have this love of music, that you enjoy traveling. How do you use these things to continue, to unwind and to use your downtime? I know you've mentioned before that science is your hobby and therefore it's not a job, but what do you do outside of that to do you ever have a desire to take your mind off science?
Well, when you're in science, you're not working. You don't have I have a working place, but you don't have to show every day in the lab. You can design your time. There are graduate students that are working. I'm not a kindergarten teacher. So I don't have to be there all the time. I mean, I travel and so on. But I think that the short answer to your question is that you have one precious commodity, and it's called time. It's really called time. Now it's 11 and 2 minutes. 11 and 1 minute has passed. The 1 minute, it will never come back. So it was spent. Whether it was spent wisely or stupidly, it's a matter of question, but it's spent, and it will never come back. So in the back of my mind, I must admit that I'm crazy and obsessive compulsive about my time. I don't let people waste my time. Whenever I feel that the conversation goes sideways, I just finish it. I'm very impolite. I tell people, this is a circular argument. We are coming back to the same point all the time. It's useless. Let's stop it and let me go. So I must say that I'm a very, at the same time that I'm a voracious reader, I am also a voracious user of my time. Because time is really precious. And yeah, but time is, you know, last week I saw a wonderful show in Israel, a new show, you know, I went to the gala and so on. So I'm really very diverse in my interest. But I choose it and I'm very picky on my time. I think time is of course I enjoy it. It's not that I'm, you know, crazy and every day morning between 8 to 9 I do this, between 9 and 9:14 I do this, and I do this. But I always have a sense that, wow, this is a waste. Let's just stop it and do something more useful. And by that I can do a lot of things. You know, there is a say that, a very smart say that say, if you want a job to be done, give it to a busy person.
Well, I'm very glad that you've given us your very precious time, and that hopefully you don't feel like we've wasted your time with anything.
Not at all. On the contrary, and I am not apologetic. I think that now that I'm rather old, and I always say jokingly that my future is behind me, I see education as a prime target, you know, talking to young people, trying to inspire them. I don't know whether I'm an inspiring person, but telling them about my own experience. That's the only thing that I can tell people. What did I do, how I chose my career, what I do. I always was with good people. You know, I picked up my teacher, my mentor, you know, only the mentor that promised me a hard life. This is the mentor that I picked. Then I went to the best institute in the world to do my postdoc. I went to MIT, to one of the most famous biologists that ever walked on the face of Earth. So I always made sure that I'm in the right environment with the right people, because they are inspiring. They are living in an inspiring environment. You know, in my lab at MIT, we had 2 Nobel Prizes came out. 2 Nobel Prizes within less than a decade, out of the postdocs that were in the lab. And many members are National Academy of Sciences of the United States. It was a premier lab, top notch. Just being with the postdocs around was an unbelievable pleasure. Not to say the mentor, not to say MIT is the mecca of science. So I think that it's very important to pick up your mentors, to be in the right environment. I never, let me sum it up, wrap it up in this way. I never take anything for granted. Whenever I'm being told something, first of all, I cast it out, that the other person doesn't know what he's talking about. I check it, I go. And for myself, I always think about what I'm doing. Going to be with the right people at the right things. Now I don't need it anymore. I don't do a PhD or I don't study. But whenever I had to go to another step in my career, I picked it up very cautiously. And if it necessitated to go away to a different country, I went away to spend years in somewhere else. Despite the difficulties, lifting family, taking the kid from one school, bringing him to another school, finding a job for my wife, and so on and so forth, difficulties never stopped me. I did what I needed, what I felt I needed to do. I very much cherish talking to young people, coming to this, and I hope that, you know, I cannot judge myself, that I inspire people. You know, the topic that I picked up yesterday was a topic I thought that it's a very broad audience that's coming from. So some of the talks were on subjects that I couldn't understand one word yesterday. I couldn't understand. You know, a speaker is coming to talk on the anniversary and I couldn't understand one word. He missed it. If I couldn't understand, I guarantee you many people didn't understand. I hope that my talk was more legible to people who are not in medicine and are not in biology, because I raise problems that touch on everybody. So I always think about the audience, who is there, what are the lessons. I try to take it beyond the knowledge to ethical issues. I want people to have a take-home lesson, so they will think about it. So I always think of what I do. I never do things like, okay, let's give a talk, another talk. No, I prepare it, I think about it. I think it's important. God is in the details, and the devil too.
What advice would you give to young scientists who is at the career juncture, deciding what to do in the future?
Be with good people, but you have to find them. So you ask me what is good, that's another question. And diversify. Diversify means go abroad. You know, you do a PhD In Singapore, perfect. If you are aiming at an academic career or anything, go to do a postdoc somewhere else. Go to Europe, go to the United States. Be in another culture. Talk a different language. See how other people are thinking. Especially because you're in Singapore. You know, Singapore is very small. It's a city, basically. It's a big city, but it's a city. People are very much the same. So, you know, you're Chinese, Malay, Caucasian, but it's a very uniform place. So I think that the idea today, and the same for Israel, you know, I'm coming from a tiny, small country, 9 million people now. So I always thought that I should go to a different place, diversify, network, and that was extremely helpful. Good people and diversify. And then it doesn't matter what you do. Of course, if you are a chemist or a biologist, you don't want to go to do, I don't know, hairstylist, to become a hairstylist or I don't know what. But in your field, go somewhere else. And there are excellent places in the world. What you're doing?
PhD in medicine.
In medicine?
Yeah, metabolic diseases.
Yeah, in biology. You know, metabolism now is a very hot field. And the microbiome, its effect on metabolism and so on, very hot field. And there are many good people working on it all over. Go to MIT, go to Harvard, go to Oxford, Cambridge, ETH, Zurich, whatever you want, Germany, EMBO, wherever you want. It will enrich you enormously. And then it doesn't matter what is the actual subject, because you'll never in your life continue to work on the same subject. You anyway have to find your own way. You want to build your own independence, right? You want that people will identify you with your subject, that people will point out with a finger and say, you are Mrs. whatever. So you have to build your own independence. So it doesn't matter what you do. Of course, in your field. You can work on brain metabolism, you can work on microbiome, you can work on this, you can work on that, you can work on immune metabolism, which is very active now, very hot field. But I think that good people, good institution, diversification will get you there.
Maybe in relation back to the 20th anniversary of IAS, yourself as the distinguished professor of IAS, how do you see the institute continue building and moving to greater heights in your vision for us?
Again, it's the same very principle. I mean, it's a lot depends on you. You have to know what you are good at, that you know, that it's coming out of the tips of your fingers. Singapore is a great place. I mean, the universities are very good, but again, it's very small and very, very limited in a way. Do your PhD and go away. Come back. I don't say don't come back. It's your country. I think that being away with good people is the secret. The universities in Singapore are very good. The culture is a little bit strange for me. The culture, not only in Singapore, the culture in the East. People are too nice. They are very obedient. They are not challenging authority. I think that you should be a little bit more chaotic and a little bit more rude and a little bit more daring. And people realize it, because Singapore say, how can it be that we put so much money into education, we have such good universities, but there is some glass ceiling that doesn't let us go to get Nobel Prize, for example. You know, Israel is, we are 9 million. We have about almost 11 or 15 or 12 Nobel Prizes. Very good people, writers and literature, whatever you want. Very, very imaginative people. Because people are not obedient. They don't do what they are being told to do. They do what they want to do. I think that Singapore is a little bit too well organized and people are not too daring. It's a very good place. But I think that if you bring new culture with you, you will benefit and the country will benefit.
Okay, unfortunately, that is all the time that we have for today. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your schedule. I want to thank Damien and Euro as well for taking on the heavy scientific questions so that I didn't have to. We hope that you were able to learn something and that you enjoyed the time that you spent with us. And there are 2 other videos with other professors as well if you wanted to watch more, and I hope you have a great day.